Thank you for taking some time to take a look at what's new for SOLIDWORKS Education. My name is Nita Sharma. I am the Educational Specialist at Javelin.
And I'm Scott Lidgy. I'm the Technical Solutions Team Manager here at Javelin as well.
So just to get started, Javelin Technologies has coast-to-coast presence. We have offices and training centers located in Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and our head office is here in Oakville, Ontario. We are a company of 90 plus people. Between us, we have hundreds of certifications. We were founded in 1997, so we're coming up to 20 years of helping schools implement tools and curriculum to help their students. If you're not already using SOLIDWORKS in your programs, you may ask, why SOLIDWORKS? SOLIDWORKS is the industry leader for every industry. It doesn't matter what your students are designing and building, SOLIDWORKS is being used. The full suite of SOLIDWORKS products is included in the educational versions. You have 3D CAD, simulation including FEA and CFD, all electrical design, whether it be 2D and 3D, and documentation tools. We also include certifications for students, staff, and faculty, which include the Certified SOLIDWORKS Associate and Certified SOLIDWORKS Professional.
SOLIDWORKS 95 was the very first release of the software, and it was an amazing new tool for engineers and to give them a great tool to work on any PC workstation. 21 years later, it's now referred to as an innovation platform. So the latest 2016-17 educational version would include all of these capabilities to fill in all the areas of the design lifecycle. Starting with SOLIDWORKS, it's been expanded so much that it's been split into 3 packages. New for this year, SOLIDWORKS Electrical is now included, including both the schematic and the 3D. Simulation is always being enhanced to allow students to validate their designs, whether that's simulation, plastics, flow, or even sustainability. My SOLIDWORKS is a great place for students to go and collaborate, to be able to share their files and get a lot of training videos as well as a knowledge base. On the technical communication side, a lot of new enhancements this year for the educational version, starting with model-based definition. And that's a new way to engineer or to send information to actually get your products to manufacturing. Composer is a documentation tool to actually present and show how that product is going to work. And Visualize is also a new one this year to really show that product off, and it's a great standalone rendering tool. So let's take a quick peek at SOLIDWORKS. Every year we enhance the look of it, the feel, the interface. So the new one is breadcrumbs, and that allows us to really hide that feature manager and focus on our work. So it's very quick and easy to find and make modifications. The manipulator triad has also been enhanced to make it easier to pick and use. As we dig in deeper, we're going to use those breadcrumbs again to modify an error here with the mating condition. So I'm going to simply select the faces to fix the interference here. And again, the graphics really are an intuitive way to work. In the sketching, a lot of our features still start with a sketch. A lot of great enhancements here. One is the ability to hide all of our dimensions. To clean up the display, we'll concentrate on the geometry. Also, when we start to apply relationships, we can immediately go and dimension them because we can now pre-select those lines to apply a dimension tool. Instant 2D is now available in our sketches where we can quickly just drag or single click on a dimension to change their values. Another enhancement that is from the previous release is the segment tool. This is a fantastic tool to do things like bolt hole circles where I can pick a circle, split that into multiple points, and now we can quickly edit those points and keep the equidistance between them by just simply deleting or increasing the instance count on those holes. Thread feature is a new one, the ability to create true 3D threads from a library of profiles. So we simply select the edge, the cylindrical face we want the thread on, and that's about it. It will do the rest as far as the cutting or extruding of the thread. Putting the parts together now, all of our advanced mates are now on the pop-up toolbar. So simply select a couple of entities and pick the appropriate mate to put the pieces together, even including our width mate, which is so popular in previous releases. Another way to mate together complex assemblies is to use the component preview window. This splits the screen and allows me to select the faces I want to mate between 2 different interfaces. Weldments is a great tool for any type of framework you're doing. And the libraries have been enhanced, and the way we name our features so we can keep track of which are which inside the feature manager. The end cap was also enhanced last year to be able to put end caps inside of a tube. This can now be edited on screen through a quick little dimension that we see here. We just drag and change that value. Being able to hide parts is so easy with the tab key now in 2017.
Now, with the intuitive nature of SOLIDWORKS, your students in any program are going to spend more time innovating and creating rather than trying to learn how the software is working.
So you may have noticed in the interface that there was a significant change there. All the buttons and on the toolbars and in the feature manager, the icons are now all that blue and yellow sort of look. That has been done for a lot of different reasons. But SOLIDWORKS knows a lot of people are still familiar with the older version, and they've now given you an option. So in the system options, you can go to colors and choose between default, which is the new gray and blue look, or the classic, which would give us a more traditional look with the more greens and yellows coming into the interface. Electrical is a new addition this year. So this has two interfaces. It has, first of all, the standalone schematic interface. So this allows us to create electrical schematics, linking you to online libraries of symbols to be able to just drag and drop in. And these symbols are very intelligent. We can actually create macros to combine a lot of those symbols together. And all the information on them will be updating automatically, whereas we're not going to worry about any duplicate wire numbers or duplicate motor numbers, for example. Any of the information can be edited very easily on the right panel in the property pane. The really neat feature is the fact that this schematic interface will be linked to the 3D interface within SOLIDWORKS. Here too, we can actually edit that information if we need to, but more importantly is we can see that we need to insert the motor that we just added to our schematic into our 3D design. Once that motor is in place, we can then actually wire this up, whether it's wires or cables, with really a click of a button. If we look at this panel design, it shows how easy it was with just a single click to route all that wiring to all the different components in that panel. So that when we come back to the schematic design, we'll get more information being pushed back as far as wire lengths. All the components are very intelligent inside electrical. So if we wanted to change from a 4-pin to a 8-pin connector, we don't have different blocks. It's the same block, it just changes parametrically. As we draw in these lines, they are much more than just a line. It's a wire, so it knows that it's a wire and attaches all the key information to that line work. Once we have our project complete, we might want to send out reports. Reports can be generated at any time and pull up all the information about the device. Finally, when we want to deliver this as a product or a project, we can send it out as DWGs, DXFs, or a very common one would be a PDF. And now our PDFs are totally hyperlinked, so the single line to a multi-line diagram is very easy to just hyperlink between pages to the components. It's a great way to interrogate the project.
If you have a program or class where you're offering a mechatronics solution, whether you're doing radio frequency, this allows your students to make sure that the mechanical and electrical designs are going to work together and they're going to work together well.
So with SOLIDWORKS simulation, we can analyze any stage of your design, whether it's from the basics of static analysis right through to thermal or buckling analysis and up to the high-end nonlinear and dynamic and using composite materials for our designs. This gives you a little bit of an idea of the types of feedback you're going to get from our simulation studies. So you can see static. The optimization is amazing to give a couple of criteria and let SOLIDWORKS do the heavy lifting of figuring out what would be the most optimal design. Drop test is pretty self-explanatory. Drop your design and see what's going to happen. And then motion, being able to actually run your assembly through its paces and get more engineering feedback as far as what forces are exerted or applied to your project.
So when your students are designing and building, they know that their designs and their builds are going to work, and they're going to work well.
Moving into flow, this is your CFD package, and again, allowing us to do heat transfer analysis, flow through or over a product, and get some great engineering design feedback there as well. Here's some examples of that. So we've got an internal flow, an external flow over it, the heat transfer through, in this example, an electronics box, and then rotating components and see how the fluid's going to move within that rotation.
And with the flow, if you're working with any type of aerospace program, you're designing boats, you can definitely see where the water or the air is going to hit what you're designing.
Moving into plastics, this will allow you to design plastic parts and know that it can be created in the real world. Starting from the parts themselves, know that the part will actually be able to be filled with a plastic mold. In the middle area, the purple areas, you'll see that we can analyze the shrinkage, the cooling time, what happens if we have a multi-cavity situation, and look at where the best placement for the injections or the gates would be. And finally, rounding that out with the full warping analysis and advanced cooling. What those would look like is something like this. So on the top left, we're looking at the how a product would fill with a single insertion, with a single gate valve. The top right is our warp analysis. So depending on the cooling, how is that going to affect our part when it comes out? Having a multi-core is really cool to be able to try out different parts in the same mold, and then even a fiber analysis.
And if you're offering any programs or courses, again, with any type of tool or mold design, this is going to be essential for your students to make sure that they're getting the theory and the modeling done right. MySolidWorks.com for students is a new feature, a new service that's available for students and schools. If your licenses are on current subscription service with SolidWorks, your students are able to engage with over 300 training videos. If they run into a problem, they can ask the question and they can see the video. They can also search forums, blogs, and access manufacturers' content where you can actually download their 3D CAD drawings if you want to include them into your own. Again, this is available with current subscription service, and when it comes to handing in assignments, the Dropbox or Google Drive can definitely help sharing the data.
So let's move into the technical communication side of things. If we want to use SOLIDWORKS MBD, so this is that new product and a new way to work, and this is going to eliminate the need for traditional 2D drawings. And that's because we're going to put all the tolerancing and manufacturing information on the 3D model. What we're doing here is once we start placing these dimensions and notes and so on in the 3D environment, we're going to capture those into different 3D views so we can tell the story well in a 3D world. So here we're just going to place a couple more dimensions. This is going to locate the two components between each other. Once we have those views in place, whether they're exploded views, we want to publish that. So with MBD comes a PDF template editor, which allows us to lay out how we'd like our drawings to look. Once we have that template done, we're now going to go out and actually publish this to it. So we're going to pick the template we want to use, what views we'd like to show, and that's about it. Here we have the finished PDF where we can analyze the drawing, get all the manufacturing information in a nice, clean way. And a lot of great highlighting, being able to highlight the BOM to the parts, be able to show just the parts, hide a bunch of other items, be able to interrogate a little further than we might be familiar with today. Things like dimensioning and adding comments is also available because it is a PDF.
And as an instructor, you can appreciate that when students are handing in assignments, this is all now done electronically, so you don't have paper sitting all over your desk trying to grade it.
So SOLIDWORKS Composer is our technical communication tool, great for presentations. We're going to be able to bring in those SOLIDWORKS models and change the colors, add annotative objects like labels and arrows and so on to describe how this thing works or how it is assembled. From there, you can output the content into something like a Word document, which would then typically be published to a PDF for presentation. We can also do some nice interactive content where, in this case, it's a parts list, where we can actually highlight the BOM and be able to link through. The ultimate interactive environment is using our player. The player can be a standalone piece of software or the add-in into a HTML interface. This allows the user to interact and rotate, but also be shown how a procedure would happen.
And with so many schools now offering different concurrent degrees and diplomas, if you have somebody in engineering and in business, they can actually create the model and go all the way to the end presentation using SOLIDWORKS and SOLIDWORKS Composer.
SOLIDWORKS Visualize is also new this year. So this is going to give you an amazing new rendering product. It's a standalone interface that can be installed, and it's going to give you stunning images like this. as well as you'll see here in this video, the quality you're going to get from this product. Some of the images are showing these in animation. That is not included with the version that the educational version will be getting. That is a upgraded commercial pro version for the animation. But the imagery here is stunning. Again, it's going to be an amazing way to present your projects at the end of the year.
And again, students can get photorealistic quality without having to take photographs of their end product, and they have a very good understanding of what their finished item is going to look like. The licensing for SOLIDWORKS, there are two different flavors that you can get. There are SOLIDWORKS for research. The research licenses are based on the commercial version, and they are discounted by 50% for research. If you're looking at multiple licenses for a program or any student, we will be able to offer you a higher discount on that multiple license purchase. Research laboratories, teaching hospitals, applied research, whether that be a true and full applied research project or capstone, or just students doing graduate and postgraduate thesis work, are eligible to use the research licenses. There are no watermarks on this, so if you are working on applied research, you don't have to worry about your customer or the company that you're working with having to deal with SOLIDWORKS written all over the drawings. SOLIDWORKS for Education is a multi-use product. It's available in 60, 200, 500, or 2,000 network packs. With your current subscription, there is a 1-to-1 ratio of the standalone activations and the network activations. So if you have a 200 license pack on the network, you also have 200 standalone activations for students, staff, and faculty. It does include the full suite of SOLIDWORKS products, starting with the 3D CAD, moving to simulation, the electrical design, and all of the communication tools, including My SOLIDWORKS for Students. In addition to all of this, you didn't think there could be more, but there is. There are the CSWA and CSWP certification exams, again, for students, staff, and faculty at no additional charge to you at the school. With the certifications, if your students do end up doing the CSWA and the CSWP exam, once they get out into the real world and start working, they're 2/3 of the way to becoming SOLIDWORKS certified experts. It's great for resumes. It helps employers know that the students do have a very good working knowledge of SOLIDWORKS, so once they get into the company, they're able to start building and producing rather than just continuing to learn.
And it doesn't stop there. SOLIDWORKS is actually creating another application called Apps for Kids. It's still in a beta form right now, but it's geared to even younger students, down at the 8 years of age group, I guess, and above. It's a great new product, very interactive. It starts with an app called Capture It, where kids can actually capture ideas, take pictures, take sound bites or video clips, and gather them together into an idea pile. From there, they would move into Shape It, where they can actually now take modeling, 3D modeling clay, if you will, and actually shape their project into reality. From there, they can Style It. The Style It app will now allow them to put decals and start to draw on this 3D model to give it even more life. If it's something that actually moves and has they can use Mech-It to actually put the pieces together and test the motion and see how it's actually going to work. From there, if they want to try to sell this product, they can now turn it into a presentation. So we can do a nice interactive slideshow incorporating all the work they've done so far. And finally, the really neat one is they can actually 3D print their designs. So that will link you out to many service providers, and the children will actually get a real-world 3D model of their project when complete.
This will be available soon. As Scott mentioned, it is still in the beta stage, but stay tuned. We'd like to thank you again for taking the time to take a look at what's new in SOLIDWORKS Education. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to call. Thank you again.
Bye for now.